to the Uncanny Valley. These are a set of training video and audio programs for residents of the Uncanny Valley, made by Lemmon.
The government is lying to us. People are disappearing.
Can we trust the government?
Ultra, you cannot brainwash humans. Project MK Ultra was an illegal human experiments program undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. It was designed to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken people and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. It does not work. You can erase a personality but not replace it. Go to https://www.ca.gov/redditgroup/documents/06760269 for more info.
They are hiding UFOs.
Blue Book from https://www.archives.gov/research/military/airforce/UFOs. The United States Air Force retired to the custody of the National Archives its records on Project Blue Book relating to the investigations of unidentified flying objects. Project Blue Book has been declassified and the records are available for examination in our research room. The project closed in 1969 and we have no information on sightings after the date. Access to Blue Book textual records is using 94 rolls of 35mm microfilm, T1206, in the National Archives microfilm reading room. The first microfilm roll includes a list of contents for all of the rolls and the finding aids. Photographs scattered among the textual records have also been filmed separately on the last two rolls. Motion picture film, sound recordings, and some still pictures are maintained by the Motion Picture and Sound and Video Branch, NNSP. The following is a copy of the U.S. Air Force fact sheet distributed by Wright-Patterson, AFB, in January 1985. United States Air Force Public Affairs Division, Wright-Patterson, AFB, Ohio 45433. UFOs and Project Blue Book on December 17, 1969. The Secretary of the Air Force announced the termination of Project Blue Book, the Air Force program for the investigation of UFOs. From 1947 to 1969, a total of 618 sightings were reported to Project Blue Book. Of these, 701 remain unidentified. The project was headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, whose personnel no longer receive, document, or investigate UFO reports. The decision to discontinue UFO investigations was based on an evaluation of a report prepared by the University of Colorado entitled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects. A review of the University of Colorado's report by the National Academy of Sciences, past UFO studies and Air Force experience investigating UFO reports during the 40s, 50s, and 60s. As a result of these investigations and studies and experience gained from investigating UFO reports since 1948, the conclusions of Project Blue Book are: 1. No UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force has ever given any indication of threat to our national security. 2. There has been no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological developments or principles beyond the range of present-day scientific knowledge. And 3. There has been no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified are extraterrestrial vehicles. There are a number of universities and professional scientific organizations, such as the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which have considered UFO phenomena during periodic meetings and seminars. In addition, a list of private organizations interested in aerial phenomena may be found in Gaylor's Encyclopedia of Associations, edition 8, vol. -1, pages 432 to 433. Such timely review of the situation by private groups ensures that sound evidence will not be overlooked by the scientific community. A person calling the base to report a UFO is advised to contact a private or professional organization, as mentioned above, or to contact a local law enforcement agency if the caller feels his or her public safety is endangered. They should consider UFO phenomena during periodically to stay seven the remains of extraterrestrial visitors are or have been stored at Wright-Patterson AFB. There are not now nor ever have been any extraterrestrial visitors or equipment on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Edition 8, volume 1, pages 432 to 433. Such timely review of the situation by private groups ensures that the sound evidence will not be overlooked by the scientific community. A person calling the base to report a UFO is advised to contact a private or professional organization, as mentioned above, or to contact a local law enforcement agency if the caller feels his or her public safety is endangered. Periodically, it is erroneously stated that the remains of extraterrestrial visitors or have been stored at Wright-Patterson AFB. There are not now nor ever have been any extraterrestrial visitors or equipment on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Majestic 12 or MJ-12 Reference Report. The National Archives has received many requests for documentation and information about Project MJ-12. Many of the inquiries concern a memorandum from Robert Cutler to General Nathan Twining, dated July 14, 1954. This particular document poses problems for the following reasons. 1. The document was located in Record Group 341, Entry 267. The series is filed by a top-secret register number. This document does not bear such a number. 2. The document is filed in the folder T4 to 1846. There are no other documents in the folder regarding NSC/MJ-12. 3. Researchers on the staff of the National Archives have searched the records of the Secretary of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Headquarters U.S. Air Force, and other related files. No further information has been found in this subject. 4. Inquiries to the U.S. Air Force, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the National Security Council failed to produce further information. 5. The Freedom of Information Office of the National Security Council informed the National Archives that top-secret restricted information is a marking that did not come into use at the National Security Council until the Nixon administration. The Eisenhower Presidential Library also confirms that this particular marking was not used during the Eisenhower administration. 6. The document in question does not bear an official government letterhead or watermark. The NARA conservation specialist examined the paper and determined it was a ribbon copy prepared in diction onion skin. The Eisenhower Library has examined a representative sample of the documents in its collection of the Cutler papers. All documents in the sample created by Mr. Cutler, while he served in the NSC staff, have an eagle watermark in the bond paper. The onion skin carbon copies have either an eagle watermark or no watermark at all. Most documents sent out by the NSC were prepared in White House letterhead paper. For the brief period when Mr. Cutler left the NSC, his carbon copies were prepared in prestige onion skin. 7. The National Archives searched the official meeting minute files of the National Security Council and found no record of an NSC meeting on July 16, 1954. A search of all NSC meeting minutes for July 1954 found no mention of MJ-12 nor Majestic. 8. The Judicial fiscal, and social branch searched the indices of the NSC records and found no listing for MJ-12, Majestic, unidentified flying objects, UFO, flying saucers, or flying discs. 9. Madges found a memo in a folder titled Special Meeting July 16, 1956, which indicated that NSC members would be called to a civil defense exercise on July 16, 1956. 10. The Eisenhower Library states, in a letter to the Military Reference Branch, dated July 16, 1987, President Eisenhower's appointment books contain no entry for a special meeting on July 16, 1954, which might have included a briefing on MJ-12. Even when the President had off-the-record meetings, the appointment books contain entries indicating the time of the meeting and the participants. The Declassification Office of the National Security Council has informed us that it has no record of any declassification action having been taken on this memorandum or any other documents in this alleged project. Robert Cutler, at the direction of President Eisenhower, was visiting overseas military installations in the day he supposedly issued this memorandum, July 14, 1954. The administration series in Eisenhower's papers as president contains Cutler's memorandum and report to the president upon his return from the trip. The memorandum is dated July 20th, 1954, and refers to Cutler's visits to installations in Europe and North Africa between July 3rd and 15th. Also, within the NSC staff papers is a memorandum dated July 3rd, 1954, from Cutler to his two subordinates, James S.I. and J. Patrick Cohn, explaining how they should handle NSC administrative matters during his absence. One would assume that, if the memorandum to Twining were genuine, they or Cohn would have signed it. When certifying a document under the seal of the National Archives, we attest that the reproduction is a true copy of a document in our custody. We do not authenticate documents or the information contained in a document. The Roswell incident, the National Archives has been unable to locate any documentation among the Project Blue Book records that discuss the 1947 incident in Roswell, New Mexico. In September 8, 1994, the Secretary of the Air Force, Sheila E. Wignall, announced that the United States Air Force had completed its study to locate records that relate to the alleged 1947 UFO incident near Roswell, New Mexico. Pro-UFO researchers claim that an extraterrestrial spacecraft and its alien occupants were recovered near Roswell in July of 1947, and that this fact was kept from the public. At the request of Congressman Stephen H. Schiff, RNM, the General Accounting Office, VAO, initiated an audit in February of 1994 to locate all records relating to the Roswell incident and to determine if such records were properly handled. The VAO audit was completed and the results were published by the headquarters, U.S. Air Force in 1995. The publication is entitled The Roswell Report, Fact versus Fiction in the New Mexico Desert. This publication may be obtained from most U.S. government depository libraries. The phone number is ISBN 081604802X. The General Accounting Office audit involved many government agencies but focused on the Air Force. To support this audit, the Air Force initiated a systematic search of current Air Force offices as well as numerous archives and record centers which might help explain the incident. Air Force officials also interviewed many persons who may have known about the events. Before the interviews, Secretary Wignall released those persons from any previous security obligations that may have restricted their statements. The Air Force research did not locate or develop any information that the Roswell incident was a UFO event, nor was there any indication of a cover-up by the government. Information obtained through exhaustive record searches and interviews indicated that the materials recovered near Roswell were consistent with the balloon device of the Titans in a then classified project. No records indicated or even hinted at the recovery of alien bodies or extraterrestrial materials. All documentation related to the space is now declassified and the information is in the public domain. Documentation has been turned over to the Office of the Air Force Historian.
They don't care about you, they only care about money.
The Five Eyes, Echelon. Echelon is originally a secret government code name for a surveillance program, signals intelligence / SIGINT collection and analysis network, operated by the 5 signatory states to the UFUSA Security Agreement, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and the United States, or the Five Eyes. Echelon was first created in the late 1960s to monitor the military and diplomatic communications of the Soviet Union and its Eastern Bloc allies during the Cold War, and became formally established in 1971. By the end of the war, it had greatly expanded. Journalist Duncan Campbell and journalist Nikki Hilder has exploited Echelon traffic for industrial espionage rather than military and diplomatic purposes. In 2001, the Temporary Committee on the Echelon Interception System recommended that citizens of member states routinely use cryptography in their communications to protect their privacy to the European Parliament, because the U.S. intelligence agencies have conducted economic espionage with Echelon. The Committee of the European Parliament stated categorically that the Echelon network was being used to intercept not only military communications, but also private and business ones. The parliamentary committee quoted Juvenal, said Keys custodi ipsis custodes. But who will watch the watchers? James Bamford, in The Guardian in May 2001, warned that, if Echelon were to continue unchecked, it could become a cyber-secret police, without courts, juries, or the right to a defense. Judgment date, July 2014. This case involves claims by citizens that their constitutional rights were violated by the United States government. They said that the United States government took part in an authorized surveillance of their telephone and internet activity through the National Security Agency, NSA, and other government actors under the Terrorist Surveillance Program or TSCOON. They also said this was done in concert with major telecommunications companies outside of the procedures of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, and without authorization by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISC. In the end, the court rejected the government's state secrets argument, ruling that any properly classified details can be litigated under the procedures of the FISA, including the procedure provided in 1806 F. For more info, go to https://worldwideweb.uscourts.gov/camerascourts/Jewel means
The ghost frequency, the https://nwikipedia or wiki/infrasonic_17_hz_tone_experiment says this. Psychologist Richard Wiseman of the University of Hertfordshire suggests that the odd sensations that people attribute to ghosts may be caused by infrasonic vibrations. Vic Tandy, experimental officer and part-time lecturer in the School of International Studies and Law at Coventry University, along with Dr. Tony Lawrence of the university's psychology department, wrote in 1998 a paper called Ghosts in the Machine for the Journal of the Society for Psychical Research. Their research suggested that an infrasonic signal of 19 Hz might be responsible for some ghost sightings. Tandy was working late one night alone in a supposedly haunted laboratory at Warwick when he felt very anxious and could detect a grey blob out of the corner of his eye. When Tandy turned to face the grey blob, there was nothing. The following day, Tandy was working on his fencing foil with the handle held in a vice. Although there was nothing touching it, the blade started to vibrate wildly. Further investigation led Tandy to discover that the extractor fan in the lab was emitting a frequency of 18.9.